Welcome into OutKick the Show, Tuesday edition of the program. I hope all of you are having fantastic starts of the week, wherever you may be across this great country or this great land. Right off the top, fabulous news. For those of you who are in the state of Michigan, you are going to be able to gamble on sports in the very near future. All you have to do is go to fanduel.com/clay and you can get up to $1,000 free wager for your very first online wager on sports. Michigan going to happen in hopefully the next few days. You are going to be able to gamble in the state of Michigan. Go get signed up. fanduel.com/clay. Same thing in the state of Virginia. And if you're watching me right now and you're in the state of Tennessee, or you are in one of the 8 states that borders the great state of Tennessee, I'm going to try to do them off the top of my head: Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, Kentucky, Arkansas, and Missouri. That's the 8. You can drive across the border and gamble. Maybe you're going to be home for the holidays. Maybe you're going to Tennessee for the holidays, or Michigan or Virginia. FanDuel.com/clay. Pennsylvania, also New Jersey, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, West Virginia, and Colorado, all in that mix too. A lot of states lining up. Go ahead and get signed up now at FanDuel.com/clay. All right. I'm sorry, Eagle fans. Carson Wentz looked like he was going to be one of the MVPs of the NFL and one of the great young quarterbacks in the history of the modern era of the NFL, and that has given up the ghost. He's been sacked 46 times, if you want to claim that's the reason, but he has fallen precipitously off the charts here. Here's a stat for you that's pretty scary. Biggest passer rating decline from the prior 3 seasons since 1950. Going back, the names that you're going to know: Peyton Manning, at the age of 39, suddenly declined by nearly 40 points. Carson Wentz down 25 points at the age of 28. The same basic decline that Hall of Famer Brett Favre had at the age of 41. What in the world is going on here? The wheels have come off of Carson Wentz, and as a result, I don't know how things get back into working order as you try and figure out what's going on with the Eagles. They have over $100 million committed to Carson Wentz going forward. It never made any sense to me to draft Jalen Hurts based on that decision. They are in salary cap at the quarterback position prison. The Eagles are. So much so that even in the NFC East, where everything is an abject disaster, right now, if you go out there and look, you can argue the Eagles are in worse shape than the Redskins, a.k.a. the Washington football team, worse shape than the Giants, and even worse shape than the Cowboys because of the money they have invested in a guy that's just not working out. They can't even afford to hand the reins to Jalen Hurts. Biggest beneficiary of there being no crowds present in the NFL right now is Carson Wentz. Can you imagine what the Philly fans would be doing if Carson Wentz were actually playing in front of a full stadium? I don't know that he would still be your starting quarterback if the Boo Birds in Philadelphia were having their way based on his performance. By the way, miracle cover last night if you had the Eagles plus 6.5. Miracle push if, like me, you had the Eagles plus 6 on that late Hail Mary tipped ball catch and then the 2-point conversion. Merry Christmas early to you. If you had the Seahawks plus 6.5, poor bastards. That's all I can say about it. All right, talking about craziness that's going on. I can't believe that we are acquiescing as a society to many of the decisions that are being made surrounding all of this COVID madness, but particularly in the world of sports. The San Francisco 49ers are being forced to move to Arizona to finish their season. Think about that for a minute. Santa Clara County has kicked the San Francisco 49ers out of the county. And by the way, this was eminently foreseeable because there is a virtue signaling rush in so many different of these counties. If you'll remember, prior to this, I ridiculed the absurdity of Santa Clara County requiring that 49er games be called by people wearing masks. Did that ever make any sense? Of course it did not. And now the 49ers are ridiculously being forced to move to Arizona, where they can finish their season. They have to leave their families, or they have to move their families to Phoenix for weeks at a time to live out of apartments and hotel rooms and everything else. The whole thing is crazy. Stanford, even wilder. The Stanford University is being forced to relocate to the state of Oregon to play their games over the next couple of weeks. This is just madness. The fact that politicians and reasonable people won't stand up and say these rules that are being in place make no sense, make no one safer, and actually arguably do the worst because the teams are being forced to relocate, which means they're traveling, which means they are violating prohibitions, not just on the local ordinances, but moving out of a particular location with hundreds of people required to move as well, making, you guessed it, viral spread even more likely. All of this is absurd and insane. Speaking of absurd and insane, the Vanderbilt female kicker fiasco just continues to blow up even more in Vanderbilt's face. I already pointed out that Vanderbilt had a punter who could have done a better job than this kicker, Sarah Fuller, that they trotted out to try to, I think, save Derek Mason's job by being as woke as they possibly can with that ridiculously not good kickoff that gave Missouri possession at the 35-yard line and led to her somehow being named SEC Player of the Week. Now all the details are starting to emerge, and I told you this was happening. She addressed the team at halftime and lectured them on their behavior. The kicker did. Have you ever heard of anything like this happening before? And now the argument that Vanderbilt had no other kicking options is getting blown up because guess what? Last year's kicker is in med school at Vanderbilt. He's on campus. All they had to do was ask him to come in and kick to finish the season. Well, guess what? He has volunteered to do so. The actual kicker who played for years at Vanderbilt was, you guessed it, on campus in med school when Vanderbilt claimed there were no other options out there and they had to randomly recruit a girl from the soccer team. All of this story is blowing up. People say, why do you care about this? Because I hate inauthenticity, okay? I hate when I'm being sold a false bill of goods. When you have all these facts out there and all the blue checkmark brigade is like, oh, it's so brave, it's so amazing, it's so incredible. And the whole story is a sham. It's a farce. It's a ridiculous, absolutely untrue story. Everything about it is. Every element about this story doesn't add up. And the latest detail that I'm hearing from players inside of Vanderbilt is all the team knows it. And that's one reason why they played so poorly against Missouri, because they're fed up with Derek Mason and their coaches. And they're afraid to say things publicly, but they finally got people to acknowledge, wait, the kicker who was on our team is just on campus in med school, and he's still eligible to come back. And now I am hearing there's a major battle ensuing over the depth chart, i.e., they may be trying to argue that this kicker, Sarah Fuller, should be above the guy who kicked for years and actually is a college kicker. And a lot of people at Vanderbilt, as they get ready for their game against Georgia, are saying, wait a minute, are you insane? This makes zero sense going forward. And there now is internal strife inside of the Vanderbilt locker room over this sham, over this stunt, over this ridiculous woke sports era of deciding to have a girl kick, even if that girl is not the most qualified option to kick, and even if that kick was, frankly, an embarrassing kick. The worst kick that probably happened to start the second half anywhere in college football in the country, and anyone defending it as a good kick or a good play is either so in the tank for absurdity that they don't even recognize the truth, or they're just blatantly lying to you because they care about the narrative more than they care about anything else. And by the way, this story happened 20 years ago. There were girl kickers 20 years ago, as Petros Papadakis pointed out on the show today. And people, like, now it's like we're going back through the same old absurdity. It's just nonsensical. Ohio State, positive news. Back for practice today. They said they intend to play against Michigan State. That would help the Big Ten immensely if Ohio State could actually play, because it would avoid the larger issues of Ohio State not being eligible for the Big Ten title game. Here's the challenge for Ohio State if you look at the overall college football picture. They need things to break their way, even if they're able to play out the rest of the season. Let me give you an example. If Florida wins out, i.e. they beat Tennessee and then they beat LSU to get to 9-1, which they are a big favorite to do, and then they go get to play against Alabama, and they were able to upset the Crimson Tide, Alabama and Florida would both end up in the college football playoff. That's assuming, by the way, that Alabama beats LSU and Arkansas over the next 2 weeks and is 10-0 when they advance to the SEC title game. Notre Dame now is a big favorite to beat Syracuse and Wake Forest. If they do that, then Notre Dame would advance to the ACC championship game at 11-0. Clemson only has one game left. They're going to win it. They'll be 9-1. They probably aren't going to replay their game against Florida State because the Seminoles have tucked their tail between their legs and are afraid to play anybody. If that happens and Clemson beats Notre Dame, as they would be favored to do, guess who your 4 playoff teams are going to be? Alabama, Florida, Clemson, and Notre Dame. So Ohio State desperately needs for Alabama to beat Florida, or for Florida to lose to somebody else, or for Notre Dame to beat Clemson in order to actually even have an opportunity to make the playoff. Because I really do believe if Notre Dame goes 11-1, if Clemson goes 10-1, if Alabama and Florida both go 10-1, Ohio State has no chance to make the playoff, even if they go 6-0. That's coming down the home stretch. But I'm glad that Ohio State is back and potentially able to play on Saturday against Michigan State. Let me tell you about this. I'm sitting in a brand new chair. This chair is absolutely phenomenal. Massage chair. It is incredible. I've got the massage going right now on my chair. It's called the XChair. And a lot of people out there wonder, why would you get a new chair? Well, it's an investment in productivity. If, like me, you spend a lot of time sitting at a desk, I've got my desk right over here, I've got an XChair there. If you spend as much time in your desk working as I do, then what you desperately need is a comfortable chair to allow you to remain seated and working as efficiently and longly as you possibly can. And what will hook you up is this XChair that I've got right now. Go to xchairclay.com. That's the letter X, chair, Clay, my name, CLAY.com, or call 1-844-XChair. The XChair has a 30-day guarantee of complete comfort. You can try it out for a full month, and you can finance your purchase for as little as $30 a month. At xchairclay.com right now, you can use the code XWheels for free X-Wheel blade casters. xchairclay.com, $100 off. xchairclay.com. Be as efficient as you could possibly be with the best chair out there, the XChair. All right, Ravens Steelers tomorrow. The rare Wednesday night, or AKA Wednesday afternoon game, depending on what time zone you're going to be in. You get J.K. Dobbins back. You get certainly, what's his name, from Alabama. Oh, God. When you have so many different names, Mark Ingram. When you have so many different names you're trying to remember all day, every now and then you freeze on one. Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins are coming back. RG3 is going to be the quarterback. I don't see any way possible that the Steelers are going to be able to allow the Ravens to score. This is going to be an offense that has absolutely nothing it can do without Lamar Jackson. Mark Edwards is also out, the tight end, who is the best playmaking wide receiver out there for anybody on the Ravens. And as a result, I think the Steelers are going to get to 11-0 and officially basically wrap up the AFC North. and continue their quest to be the overall number 1 seed. But for the Ravens, for all of this attention, can we not acknowledge that while we give a ton of attention to all of the positive tests that are out there, how about the fact that when someone actually tests positive, there are no long-range impacts and they come back very quickly and there are almost no issues associated with it at all? We give a lot of attention to positive tests in athletics. We give almost no attention to the fact that everybody comes back 100% and has no issues whatsoever. Maybe kind of an important detail the media should focus just a little bit of time on. Maybe, just possibly, worth discussing in some way. All right, Vanderbilt. In addition to Derek Mason failing when it came to procuring the best kicker possible out there, Sarah Fuller was not the best option. This is a sham. This is a total joke. There are a lot of people that want this job. And here is my list of guys that I feel very comfortable really are aggressively going after this job right now. Will Healy from Charlotte, in no particular order. Clark Lee, the defensive coordinator, 38-year-old, Vanderbilt graduate, Nashville native, who is now the defensive coordinator of Notre Dame. Jamie Chadwell at Coastal Carolina, undefeated, has his team, the Chanticleers, in the top 20. Jeff Fisher went to the Super Bowl, 16-year head coach of the Tennessee Titans. Trent Dilfer, interesting idea. And Barry Odom, the defensive coordinator at Arkansas. There are a lot of people that want this Vanderbilt football job. And I think it's surprising to some people how many great candidates are reaching out and letting it be known that they would be excited to be able to get the Vanderbilt football job. I don't know which direction Candace Story-Lee, the female athletic director of Vanderbilt, is going to go. But I know that the options are going to be plentiful and they are going to be impressive because Derek Mason got 7 years and only won 10 games. You're talking about Vanderbilt, which is the best SEC city by far, a place where you can raise your family, a great university, and where the expectations are nothing like other places. You win 4, 5, or 6 games at Vanderbilt, you get to keep your job forever. It's a tremendous opportunity, and there are going to be a lot of great candidates fighting to get this job based on the fact that it doesn't come open that often after 7 years where Derek Mason won only 10 SEC games and ended his tenure with this ridiculous, frivolous sham of a kicking situation that he hoped would be woke enough to save his job and instead has created an incredible amount of turmoil and tempest inside the Vanderbilt locker room after the ridiculousness of having a kicker address the team, lecture them, and the argument that there was no better option out there than Sarah Fuller. It's totally a farce. It isn't true. It's a joke. All right. I love all of you. Go get signed up. Michigan, we're going to be legal soon in the state of Michigan. FanDuel.com/Clay. Same thing in the state of Virginia. Tennessee, have you gotten registered yet? Up to $1,000 free wager at FanDuel.com/Clay. That's FanDuel.com/Clay. Get hooked up now. Tennessee, Michigan, Virginia, all recent entrants into the sports gambling universe. But what about these? Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, West Virginia, Colorado. If you haven't done it yet, up to $1,000 free wager, FanDuel.com/Clay. I appreciate all of you. This has been OutKick the Show. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP. We will see you tomorrow. I'll be live early in 30 minutes. I will be live on Fox Bet Live. We're 30 minutes early today. 4:30 Eastern, 3:30 Central, 2:30 Mountain, 1:30 Pacific. Appreciate y'all. See ya. Kisses from me to the haters.